Good evening, everybody, and welcome to No Limits. I may not be Michael Buffer, but I don't need to be. I'm me, the Motor City Bad Mouth. And tonight begins a new era as far as we're concerned on No Limits as we begin to examine CTE, one of the most underrated and unpublicized thing on a regular basis. That's what we're looking to do is talk about some repetition about a disability disorder that must not be taken lightly. So, Candy, why don't you go ahead and give everybody an idea what the show is going to be about, and then I'll introduce Jennifer Horspool and Will Person, who are going to be my primary partners in crime here on this show. So, hope everybody can go out there and digest this. This show will air every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock p.m. We're figuring about the time frame is anywhere between 45 minutes as we take a little bit of this topic and break it down into a little bit week in and week out. There's a lot to comprehend, so we want to make sure it isn't quantity, but it's quality. All right, Candy, go ahead.
So we've been talking about this for a couple weeks. We were trying to preview and saying there was a special series that we were going to be starting and you needed to tune in. Well, I hope you're tuning in, and if you're not, you can tune in and rewatch it and tune in next week. But we're going to be talking about CTE, and we normally talk about it a lot of times with football players. But we're going to be talking about it in a different sport that honestly I'd never thought about it until you guys came to us and started talking about it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, light bulb goes on. Yeah, it really is in other sports too, especially in the sport we're going to be talking about. And I'm not going to steal the thunder because I'm going to let you guys do that. But I am so excited that we're finally talking and bringing such an important topic to everybody out there, an important message out there. And we really want to help everybody. So with that, Scott, I'm going to let you guys take it back. Take it over.
Thank you, Candy. Well done. And the thing is yes, we will mention a topic at the end of our agenda about other sports because I want to bring awareness to everything we're doing, but leave the main focus on where it needs to be, and that's Will Person and Jennifer Horspool. Welcome to No Limits. Welcome to South Florida Tribune Media Network. Glad to have you as partners in this.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It means the world. Yeah.
Well, means the world. Jen, you've been great to work with, and now we have finally an opportunity to work on this and bring this thing. If it was ALS, I would do that too. Cancer, but they didn't come forward. You did, and if those people ever come to me, I wouldn't think twice. I'll find a way to get them on the air. But right now, the focus is on CTE, something that we hear all the time, and we're going to bring it to you on all different levels. So, with that said, well, I guess we might as well start where we're supposed to start. I want you to go ahead and tell your story about how you got to where you're at and go from there. The floor is yours.
Just so you know, we have ALS in our community as well.
Oh, dude.
So yeah, okay. I found one. Yeah.
Is ALS related to a brain injury? I wonder. Like, I never would have thought of that, but
called Lou Gehrig's disease.
Sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Lou Gehrig, you're talking sports, right? I mean, he's baseball. So, but I never thought about the correlation. I've been curious why ALS is on the rise, because it is on the rise. Like, more people are getting diagnosed with ALS than ever before. It's in higher numbers, and not to, go sideways on already, but something to consider. That's, let's talk about that on another week. I'm going to write that down because I think that's important.
Yeah. That'd be great. Yeah, no, that would be really good if you do that. ALS is something I can tell you right now. We can that'll be part of what we talk about on Zoom and how we can incorporate that in. That's why we have our Monday Zoom calls to set things up. There's an awful lot here. That's why all we need is a few topics tonight. And as far as I'm concerned, that Wednesday time slot is here. In this case, Soul Guy, thank you very much for popping in. We appreciate you. Any comments out there, feel free to let us know. And we appreciate everybody on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever they're coming from. And again, all comments are encouraged, and we'll do our best to get back to you. So with that said, well,
okay,
the floor is yours. Tell your story.
Yeah. Well, my name is Will Person. I spent 9 years racing with Team USA Bobsled. And, I guess, what do we want to start here at? Do we want to start with the trauma, or we want to start
Start with you found yourself like here you are living on the floor.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Jennifer, why don't you go ahead?
What got you living on the floor, and then how did you pull yourself out?
There you go. Thank you, John.
Oh, that's a good question right there. Well, actually, the truth is, like, people make it out like I did something special. The truth is, I I did not. When I was on that floor, like, what people don't know is, like, I took the mattress out of my bedroom and I put it on my living room floor because my CTE symptoms were so bad. Like, I couldn't do anything. Every night before I went to bed, I had to put a thermos of coffee or a bottle of Coca-Cola, something on the nightstand. It had to be right next to me. Otherwise, in that morning, I couldn't wake up anymore. I couldn't get out of bed before 3 o'clock if I didn't have that. And truth is, like, I didn't know what it was. I thought it was diabetes. It looked like I had low blood sugar. It felt like I had low blood sugar. I've seen it on diabetics before, but it just didn't make sense because my doctors kept telling me I was wrong. And yeah, they said I was wrong. But
Talk about a couple of those symptoms, Will. Like what specifically were you dealing with that kept you on the floor?
well, just no energy. I just did not have the ability to get up out of the bed. But one of the first things that really hit me was like, I'm trying to think, what was that? Like, the red flags were there. The red flags were there during my racing career. My first concussion was 2002. But, like, there was things that were happening, but I didn't recognize them. Like, I rationalized them,
Mm-hmm.
rationalized what I was dealing with, and yeah, they slowly built up and built up. This thing is kind of progressive, so it gets a little bit worse over time. And so the point when I was laying on the floor, actually, what really happened is my teammate called me, Pavlik Jovanovic, and he wanted to be a writer. So I used to give him writing tips, and he was smart, real smart guy. Uh, and so one day, the last time he called me, he was speaking this weird gibberish. Like, I didn't know what he was saying. He might even been speaking another weird language. I don't know what it was. And I just kept saying, I don't understand. What are you saying? And so he got so frustrated, he hung up the phone. Now, my background at that time is I used to run treatment facilities. Mental health is my background. I even owned one when I first started with Team USA. I owned the first ever independent living transitional housing program. I wrote that when I was about 28 years old, and it was new, so the state opened me as a pilot program. So mental health is my thing. So I knew he needed some help. And what I did is I told myself every day, help him. And I don't know how much time went by, but eventually I got the word that he went into his family's factory and he hung himself. So he was one of my fourth teammates that took their life. And I felt so guilty. I felt responsible because I didn't do anything. And so eventually, let's fast forward a little bit. When his autopsy came out, he was in stage 4 of CTE. I was told that even the football brains didn't look this bad, is what I was told. The people they mentioned was Junior Seau and somebody else. I don't remember who it was, but they said his brain was worse than those guys. And so then it kind of gave me a little bit of peace because I realized that I couldn't act. I couldn't have not helped him. I couldn't help him at all. And the other thing is, when I call myself helping him, that's when I was living on the floor at the time. Like, that's when I had taken the mattress out of my bedroom and put it in the living room because I was halfway between the bathroom and the kitchen. I can get where I needed to. And if something was ever really wrong, if I needed to crawl out that house to get to the door to get paramedics, I could. And yeah, but the thing is, for me, like with a lot of athletes, we have no idea that we were in trouble. And so a lot of people aren't recognizing the signs of what this really is. And so when they show up, oh my God, like they show up. They show up.
Talk about some of the very distinct symptoms, like the headaches and the confusion, how you were getting lost. Like what was all that like? What was going on in your head?
Well, before me, every day when I finally got that caffeine in me and got me enough to get me out of that bed, I used to have a little blue daily planner I kept with me. And that daily planner, I would look at the calendar every morning. I mean, every single morning. Now, there wasn't a Mormon. There wasn't a morning. Sorry, guys, I get my speech slurs sometimes because of this. So there was some mornings. Every morning I woke up, I had to look at this, find out, is it Sunday, Monday, Tuesday? What's the day? I never knew the day. And then after I figured the day out, then I had to figure out what month that we're in. And so to me, I was stuck. It was always January or August, same 2 months. And so I was living in this loop. It was a loop. And this is what gets most of the guys. This is why these guys are killing themselves. Once you get there and you start to really suffer, like your mind is telling you, it's time to die. It's, suicide. It's, you can't live like this anymore. Don't wake up another day. And so for me, since I was a counselor, I had a little system in place. I've taught it to hundreds of people. And what that system is, I would tell myself, okay, if today's a good day to take my life, then tomorrow will be a great day to take my life too. So today is Monday. So I get to Tuesday. Guess what? I'm still having an awful day. So I say the same thing again. If today's a good day to take my life, tomorrow will be a good day. So it'll take me to Wednesday. So every day pushes me to a next day. And that's one of the reasons it helped me to kind of survive this thing until I found some help, because there's really no help out there.
So well, let me ask you this, okay? What's it like for you to sleep on the floor? I mean, I realize that it was a convenient way for you to get where you had to go, was halfway between, but sleeping on the floor, the way you did, I give you a lot of credit. At least you're sleeping somewhere, because if you're living on your own anyways, you're trying to find a way to be independent enough to be able to survive. But, you bring up an interesting point, sleeping on the floor.
Well, what I was doing, every time there was a problem, I addressed that problem. Like, I couldn't remember stuff. So I had these big, long 8-foot scrolls on my wall, 8 foot by like 2 feet. And I had writings all over my house on these scrolls. First of all, I had the book that was going to let me know what my day was. Then I get to my scrolls. It's going to let me know all my appointments, because I wasn't missing appointments. I was missing work, doctor's appointments, and even dates. I remember one time I made a date with a lady. We made a date. And so to me, like, the way my brain works is like this. Like, we both, let's say today is Monday. Let's say if she says, okay, let's meet up on Tuesday. To me, Tuesday is like 2 weeks away. So I'm never going to be there. But if you tell me tomorrow, that'll click in, and I can decipher tomorrow. I'll be there. But if you say Tuesday, you're going to be all alone. So I was standing people up like it was. And so I had these irate people calling me like, you said we were going on a date. And I said, I did? Yeah, that's Tuesday. Today's Tuesday. Like, we just made the date yesterday, So those are some of the things that you start to deal with. So your life spirals out of control. So eventually, if you look at all I'm looking at some of the stories of these guys who took their life, and they all were separate, living separate from their wife.
Right.
Because eventually, you hear every story that where one of these players are murdering people or themselves. All the people around them say the same thing. They were acting out of character. They weren't being themselves. They were a gentle giant till they weren't anymore, And so this thing, it'll make you like, you won't be yourself anymore. You won't recognize yourself, because I know I didn't.
Talk a little bit, William, about the anger issues, the inability to control your emotions, and how that comes because you as the person think you're justified, right, in your anger, but the outside person. Talk about that dynamic.
See, one thing that really helped me with that is I was a counselor. So when I worked in youth corrections at one point, like, if there was a riot, I'm the guy they send in to put the riot out. Like, I know what to say. I know how to calm the room and stuff. I apologize. Whatever you just asked me, it just went right out the other side of my brain, and that's okay. part of my condition. So, I
mean, in truth, that happens to me too. So,
what about me? I'm not in the best of shape either.
And believe it or not, that's one reason why a lot of these guys don't get treatment. Because, like, when I told my family the same thing, they said, "Oh, I do that too." So everybody wants to make it a normal thing when it's.
But it's not normal.
Yeah, I didn't tell you. I also got migraines every day. I'm having vertigo. I don't know what day it is. I don't know what month we're in. Like, all the things that they be asking these football players on TV in the old movies when they get knocked out unconscious. Who's the president? I don't know. What's today? I don't know. Yeah. So yeah.
I mean, and that's legitimate, because the reason why I want you to clarify some of these symptoms is so that other people can start to recognize that maybe one of their loved ones might be having symptoms like this. Now, does it mean that they have CTE? No, but does it mean that they might have a traumatic brain injury or some kind of a brain injury that has been undiagnosed, unrecognized, untreated? Maybe it is recognized, but you forget, and you don't make the connection between the intense headaches that you've been talking about. Like, you have, you still have a constant lull of a headache. It's just a degree of severity, right? Is that fair?
Yeah, the headache never goes away. Like, I had one this morning, had one last night, But usually it's the headaches are mild or the migraine. I don't usually get the ones in the middle too much. Like,
Right.
But before you started treatment, how were your headaches?
that's the migraines. Like the one thing about the migraines, like they're awful. Like, and I never know when they're going to show up. They same thing with the vertigo. You never know when it's coming. They're going to show up, and when they show up, like it's one of the ones where you find a quiet room, preferably a closet, and you close every door, you turn everything off, and you just silence. You don't want any
Silence and darkness. Huh? Yeah.
Yeah, no, even smells.
Yeah.
Smells will just make it worse too. Smells and yeah, smelling perfume while migraines there. Oh my goodness!
Well, it's amazing how you bring that up, because memory. I have Alzheimer's. That's why I'm glad I'm on this show with you guys at the onset of it. So I know exactly what you're going with. One of the reasons I undertook this project is that I'm dealing with is a different form of what you're dealing with in other senses. The migraines, the headaches, the memory issues just don't go away. So when I see Jennifer doing an unbelievable job, is really truly acting like a co-host. She is doing a Jimmy Walker thing called Dynamite, but I'm not going to go out there and scream everybody and get people upset. No, I'm in a mellow frame of mind here because I want to make sure this message is really taken into context that it is. So when you talk about memory, vertigo, those are important things that people have to understand. These are things that we're going to repeat on a weekly basis. This is not the first time you're going to hear this stuff. You're going to get used to hearing it on a week in and week out basis, depending on other things. Shannon, I just want to get that and continue on. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted William to talk about, because you mentioned Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is a form of dementia, and William wanted to talk about your state of confusion and how you associated that.
Well, there's not a doctor who can tell me that I wasn't in dementia. Like I had all the signs, like total confusion, all the stories I just told you, lost in my own neighborhood. Let me show you how simple it was, how crazy it was. I lived in a place, let's pretend this is a block, right? This is a block. I lived on this side of the block, right? The stores were on this side of the block. And so when I got crowded and confused, I was afraid to drive. I didn't want to harm anybody. That's like, if I'd be doggone if I'm going to take somebody with me. Like, this is my problem. I'm not taking anybody with me. So I started to walk places. So in these days, instead of me, I would walk here, go here. Now I'm at the store. Now, some days I'll be at home. I'm about to go on that walk. And I'll ask myself, okay, what if I go this way? What's over there? I couldn't figure out what was on the other side of that block. It's the same thing. But when your mind is gone, you just can't, you can't process this stuff. It doesn't make sense to you. And I know something is wrong, and I just can't figure out, like, what it's so disturbing. It's very disturbing.
Right.
Yeah, and not only that, you make a great point, because I'm at a point where I can drive, but the hesitation where I don't want to hurt nobody comes in, and that's where the psychological ramifications come into play. And as far as walking, I'll do a little bit, but so I know what you're trying to do is you're not only thinking about yourself, you're thinking about the other person. And that to me is very noble. It really is. I'm not going to get sued by anybody because I knew I shouldn't have been doing it, even though I haven't been told I can't drive. It's just something you have to be. It's called being responsible. That you have, and that's what you were telling.
Well, I didn't care about being sued, but I had already had the guilt of my teammate, his death and I thought, I was responsible for that. I'll be doggone if I'm gonna add to that list.
Well, I don't want to get sued either, but the bottom line is you don't want to hurt nobody.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. You have to live with that stuff. You hurt somebody, and it's a self-inflicted wound. Sorry, John. Then obviously you have to live with it. Go ahead, John.
Yeah.
No, I was going to switch a little bit to get William William, describe CTE versus a TBI versus hitting your head versus micro traumas and macro traumas and all of that.
Well, the truth is, now that I'm been studying this thing pretty tough since I woke up from hyperbaric, I can process things a lot better. I kind of think it's all the same thing. I believe it's all, I'm pretty sure the doctors are going to argue with me on that, but I really believe, like, every time you get a head injury and you don't treat it, it's going to eventually go somewhere. You're going to have, like any muscle, you pull a muscle, you tear a muscle. After that muscle heals, you got scar tissue. Now you got to go in there. And this is what they do to us at the Olympic Training Center. They give you a towel. They say, here, bite this. And they go in there with an elbow and they just dig in there and they dig and dig and dig. But the brain injury is the only injury I've ever had over I started competing when I was 11. I retired
Right.
at 36. It's the only injury I've ever had where there was no treatment other than go sit down and, don't go to sleep for the first hour or two, That's the only treatment. Okay, what about the scar tissue from the injury in there? How do we break that up? So what I really think is like, until I got into that chamber, it allowed that blood flow to get back where it belongs, and it woke me back up. Because before that, there was absolutely nothing that doctors could tell me or do for me, or anything that I researched on the internet. Like it was, yeah. And like I was speaking with a football player today, and he was mentioning about he think he might have adult ADHD, and I was like, and I listened to his whole story, and I was like, buddy, I'm so glad we're here talking today. And I shared my symptoms with him. Identical. They're identical. I thought I had the same thing because I couldn't focus for a while, and you start thinking, okay, maybe this is ADHD. I went and got evaluated. They gave me an Adderall. I took that pill. It didn't make a difference. It didn't make a difference at all. I have what I have. And so, like, you're not going to take a pill. It's not going to make this thing go away. It's just not how it works. So that's one of those symptoms that that you mentioned, I think is so important because I forget about that one. Yeah.
Scott?
Okay. Yeah. So let's move this thing on a little bit toward bobsledding.
Okay.
In general, because I know it's very far-fetched when you guys, excuse me, contacted me. Bobsledding, never thought about it. Then all of a sudden, Jen and I started talking about it, and it just made so much sense. And then from bobsledding, we'll talk about who you've mentored. Then we'll go to our sports example, and that'll be our first night going at it. Jen, continue to contribute along the way. You're doing real well. Well, let's talk about bobsledding in general. What do you think would be far-fetched if you're hearing it for the first time? Why is bobsledding such a big contributor of what CTE is that most people don't realize?
Yeah. Was that for you, Jen? Is that for
No,
Jen?
that's yours. I mean, there's four
yours.
ways. I'm going to guide you.
Well, I tell you what, man. I tell you one of the funniest things. It's actually I get some comedy out of this one. When people hear my story, they be like, "Didn't you wear a helmet?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, I thought the same thing. I'm gonna wear this helmet, and I'm okay." Matter of fact, I'll tell you what. Like most people have like $100 helmet, $200 helmet. I owned a company at the time when I started bobsledding. I had a $1,200 helmet. I had the best helmet you could find. Yeah, but end of the day, it's a motorcycle helmet, and it's not designed to do anything with G forces. Because this is G. I think it's not just the concussions, but it's the G forces you add in there with it, and then the vibrations. Like if you ever go to the beach early in the morning and the water's so smooth. That's how on race day when we race in World Cup, the ice is that smooth. But if there's any little ripples in there, and when you run across that with the bobsled runners, it's like this. It's like shaking baby syndrome. Your brain, your helmet's just. So there's some days you get out of that sled and you're like, whoa, it was a smooth ride. We didn't touch a wall. And you're like, my head, like, why am I hurting so bad? And so that's what it is.
What's that term called?
Sled head.
And what is sled head? What do we just sled head is?
This brain damage. And in boxing, they call it punch drunk. I don't know what they call it in football, but bell rung. It's all the same stuff. Like sometimes I've been going down that bobsled track on some days where it's so violent that when it's so violent, like you're hoping that we can just crash and get it out the way because this is hurting. This guy's hitting every wall on the way down. Just roll that thing so we can get out this sled. That's how rough it is.
So there's four ways that bobsledding contributes to CTE, and so one of them, the first one that I say is the shaking baby syndrome, which is just you're going so fast and you have that constant jiggling, and even though there's a helmet on your head, there's no helmet around your brain. Your skull is the helmet around your brain. It's shaking all up in there, and then you're going the G-force. Let's talk about the G-force in bobsledding because to me this is like one of the key aspects.
Yeah.
So like a regular roller coaster is 1 to 2 G-force. The fastest in the world is 12 G-force. Military jet fighter pilots between 9 G-force and 18 G-force. Tell them what bobsledding is, William.
According to the New York Times report, 84.5 Gs. And it makes sense because everybody I know and everybody that they know is sick from this sport. And not only that, like we once took the bobsled, we took the fighter pilots down the track. And we thought it was funny because they pull the same type of G forces. When you see those guys flying this way, then they next thing you know, they're doing the bank turns, they're going the other way. So we took them down the track. On that day, I remember I did 6 rides that day. They did 1 and they were rattled. And I was like, how could they be rattled? These are the best in the world at what they do. Like, it didn't make sense to me. But however, last December, a report came out. They have the exact same issues as the bobsledders, like from dementia, Parkinson's, suicides. It's all identical. Like, it was almost, you can take our issues and put it right on top of theirs, and then take that and put it right on top of the NFL's. It's all the same stuff.
And since I've been working on William with this whole like getting the awareness out about CTE, and I've been studying so much, I've found it like utterly fascinating how many I believe. I mean, through William's eyes has opened my eyes to the number of, especially in the military, but across the board, mental illnesses and PTSD that are, it's really brain injuries that are misdiagnosed as bipolar syndrome or PTSD or borderline or whatever. And it's a brain injury. And, unraveling that. And I think because, it's important to know, like, athletes in particular get brain injuries. But so do regular people, right? Military gets brain injuries a lot. And so do regular people. Like, I mean, William opened my eyes. I hit my head back in 2013. And I said, oh, I've got adult onset ADHD. And he's like, no, you have a brain injury. And I'm like, and that's why when I said, oh, I forget things when you just asked them to me too. And you said, I'm normalizing them. I'm not. I'm saying I have a brain injury,
Well, you're not normalizing because I know your story.
Yeah.
Most people will normalize. I was telling you earlier, I spoke with a football player for the first time today. I was speaking with him, never met him before. Exact same thing. He was about to go to the doctor to get the adult ADHD diagnosis. I was like, that's not your problem. I already heard what your story is. You can go ahead and waste your time if you want to, but I implore you to go do it, but you're going to come back, and it's not going to help you.
I think that's the most important part of today's message, is so that people can recognize that not every diagnosis you receive is the actual problem that you're dealing with. And it's very important because, like, one of the things, William, that you said to me over and over again is that the person in trouble rarely recognizes that they're the one in trouble. They think it's everyone else. They're angry at everyone else. It's everyone else's problem and fault. They're suicidal. They're facing depression. They don't think that there's a way out. They're completely hopeless. And that's where you were. And then what happened? How did you discover? What did you discover? How did you discover it to get hope and come on the other side?
Well, once I made that pact with myself, I can't take my life. And God, I was begging him for a long time to come get me, and he didn't do it. So I got to figure something out. And so I kept researching on the days when I wasn't so cloudy. And Joe Namath put out a study. He had a team of doctors in Florida, and he said hyperbaric oxygen reversed his CTE symptoms. And I was a skeptic, I won't lie. The only thing I knew about hyperbaric was Michael Jackson had one, and I didn't want to be that guy. He was the creepy guy with a mic, no disrespect to Mike, but he was the creepy guy with a hyperbaric chamber. And I was like, I don't want to be that guy, but it's probably not going to work anyway. So I went down and I tried it. And the funny thing is, I was in that thing for 1 hour. I had been suffering for my first bobsled crash was in 2002. So it was 20 years. It was 2022. So I get in this thing, and when I get out, my glasses are a little bit tinted because I'm sensitive to light. So I go grab these glasses, I put them on, take them off a few times, and the salesman comes over and he's like, what's wrong? And I was like, I don't know. I feel like I don't need my glasses. And he says, oh, you one of those? He was so excited. I was like, okay, he's going to try to sell me this $20,000 machine that I can't afford right now. I just bought a home for myself, and it was really, I just bought my death house. I had given up at that point. Bought a house in the country. It was just time to just go fade away over there. And so, but he was right. Some people get immediate relief, and some people need like 2 sessions a day for 30 days.
Yeah. So let me point out one thing as you talk about that. We will be talking about hyperbaric chambers at a future date. It's okay that you bring them up now, but it's good that you're introducing it now, so it will be a situation that people get familiar when we bring it out. In fact, there's a good possibility we'll bring it out next Wednesday night here on No Limits.
Okay.
Just want to make sure that's brought it. But tonight's a good opportunity to get out there. Referencing Michael Jackson and Joe Namath is good. With that said, we're about at the halfway point of the show. We're going to bring Candy back on for a station break. When we come back, we're going to talk about two people that he's mentored, and we're going to talk about a recent situation here in the NFL that occurred. Unfortunately, not very good, but a lot of the last segment are going to be examples of other sports. So great start with Jennifer and Will. Candy Station break. Then we're going to go. So Will, the two people. We're going to talk about two people, and then Rudy, and that'll be it for tonight's episode. Go ahead, Candy.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the industry and how it has evolved and changed. Old school media versus new school media. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great content, so go check it out. If you see the red subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner, click it, like us, save it, share it, and then turn on your notifications so you're notified every time we go live. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to advertise, call Scott 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest or have topic ideas or questions, you can always in our chat room. But if you can't, you can email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Back to you, Scott.
Well done, Candy. All right, great stuff. So with that said, we're going to go on to a couple of people you've mentored. We're going to talk about Rudy Johnson, and then you're going to put some information how to get a hold of you. And then we'll talk on Monday about planning for next Wednesday night show. All right, with that said, Chris Chelios, tell me a little bit about that story.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Chris Chelios, really nice guy, man. I'll be honest. When I met him, I didn't know who he was. Our bobsled, our Olympic coaches asked me to mentor him.
Okay.
And so, he wanted to, I guess he had a mother. His mother was from Greece. So they was trying to put together a bobsled team for the next Olympics. And so I met him, and we went to go hang out a couple of times, and the cameras came out. Like, people were taking pictures of us. Usually that happens right around the Olympic time, but it was a little early, and I was like, this is a little bit weird. So the next time we go do something, it was the same thing. I was like, man, wow, I guess I'm a star after all. I don't know what I was thinking. But eventually I realized he was like the Michael Jordan of hockey. And then I said, Chris, what are you doing here? Like, and I said, you had such a great career. You've done well for yourself. What are you doing here? He said, I just want to go to the Olympics for my mom and represent. I said, but look at your driver. He's got on shoulder pads. Like, if you look at my Olympic suits, they're spandex. There's nothing underneath that. His driver had on shoulder pads and all kind of pads, football pads, for a reason. He was afraid, which means he was going to take Chris down that track and concuss him. I said, he's going to concuss you every day until he figures this out, until he quits. Right. And he said, I can handle it. So, he stuck around a couple more days. And then I think about that. I don't know how many days went by. I'm a little cloudy on that, but he came to me. He's like, man, thank you. I'm out of here. And so, yeah, he was going to be the next victim. I never thought in a million years it would be this, because CTE didn't have a name back then. Right. But I just know he was successful. Like, why would you risk all you've done and come here to leave with a broken arm or something?
You know why? Because he's a hockey player.
Yeah.
He is a hockey player. That's why. But then he got into a situation like this, which is no other animal in the world. He's dealing with an elephant with a big trunk, and that's a big animal. I'm not riding that animal, baby.
But I'm glad you said that. That'll lead you to the next segment. Yeah.
Right. But one of the things that
one thing we get used to are segues, man. Don't worry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Because one of the things that you said to me, William, about concussions is you didn't really, before you knew anything, you were like, opportunity for concussion, not duh. Like, you just thought no big deal, right? Like, so talk about, that is kind of the common thing, like, oh, no big deal if you get a concussion, just don't fall asleep, right? And that's what you've dealt with in sports, the sport overall. Every time you say, well, you're going to get concussed, and just like Chris is like, I play hockey, it's normal, right? Like, without really realizing what you're actually doing to yourself.
Yeah, actually, I know we haven't brought this part up, but actually, I took the Olympic team to court just so that they would have to be transparent with the athletes before they start the sport for that reason. We're still fighting over the wording of it, but they want to just put concussion in a waiver package. But what that concussion doesn't tell you that in 10 years, you're not going to recognize people you know. You're going to not know the days and the months. Like I went through all that stuff. I don't even know if we even discussed me not recognizing people that I know.
Not
Like,
yet.
No,
but
that'll
yeah,
be done at a later date. Remember,
okay,
one thing we'll make sure that we understand, and that's why we're doing this first one, as
yeah,
we're always going to do other. There are a lot of things we're going to hit week in and week out, so we're not
yeah,
going to get it all out on one show. There's no
yeah,
way in any way, shape, or form. Some of the key words we're using, we're introducing to you, but
yeah,
by no means are we done with them. so
absolutely,
with that said, I want to talk about the next person, Cameron Diaz. And our
yeah.
goal is to get to 2 people a night in terms of the mentor part. Give me a little bit of information about Cameron Diaz.
Okay, I had this idea. I called it my celebrity bobsled club. So during the Sundance
Okay.
Film Festival, I would take some celebrities down the bobsled track, and I had just gotten it started really good. And so one day, I had my buddy Al Whiting. If you ever see that movie Waterboy, he's the guy that Adam Sandler poked in the eyes because he doesn't know how to tackle yet. That's
Yeah.
one of my best friends.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. Did we talk about Jerry Maguire at all?
No.
We didn't.
No,
Okay.
but you will at a later date.
We'll do that later. Okay. Well, anyway, so so anyway, we had this bobsled track, and I pick out Cameron's driver. I make sure she's not the best driver in the country at the time. I make sure she had great equipment, and so we sent her down, and when she came back up, she had that look on her eyes that 90% of the people have. Like most time you do a roller coaster, people are screaming, "Wee, yay!" That was fun. But when you do bobsledding, I get the same thing every time. It's like people say they feel like they were fighting for their life. And because those G-forces, they do things to you. Like I can't even explain to you what a real G-force feels like because there's no word to compare it to other than the bobsled track and the fighter pilots. That's it. So when you feel it for the first time, like your system is like saying, what the heck was that? And it felt like that first ride for me, it felt like it lasted 5 minutes. It was probably only like a minute. It's like it's never ending. It's like, oh, it's brutal. It's very brutal. But to Cameron, she was a good sport, though. I tell you what, when she finished, she came back to the top. I said, Cameron, how was it? She couldn't talk. She was like, rough. She said it was rough. That's all she got out. It was rough. And I gave her a little side hug, and that was the end of it. But no, she was a really good sport.
Yeah, it sounds like to me the right word described it as shell shocked.
Probably legit.
I think shell shocked probably gets it. Our last segment of the day is recently Rudy Johnson, 45 years of age, has passed away. According to Florida police, Johnson took his own life, committed suicide, and his family says he's been struggling with mental health issues and the possible effects of CTE. I mentioned possible, although after they get done examining it, it'll probably be diagnosed anyway, that he could not overcome. Johnson was selected by the Cincinnati Bengals in the 4th round of the 2001 NFL Draft out of Auburn. This is a segment that will appear at the end of the show, Other Sports. When you talk about Rudy Johnson, what's the first thing that enters your mind when you hear something like this?
I understand, and I feel sorry for his family, and at the same time, like there's a twisted part of me that's like, for me, I can speak for myself because I know what my symptoms were. Like I was begging for death, I was praying for death, and so I'm happy that he's not in pain and suffering anymore. That's the best way I can put it. But I hate that he did what he did because, like, there's help here. There's help because, like, I had they said bobsledding is the only sport you can get CTE in one season. It doesn't take much.
Really? Wow.
Where football, you probably got to play quite a few seasons to get where we were, where my community is right now. And so, yeah, I really hate that his family has to suffer because those are the people that get it. But it's very common. If you look at him, and I heard his story, I think he was living separate from his wife too. So usually what happens is we start to act a little bit different. We're not pleasant to be around. Like for me, I never got aggressive or angry. I was just like in this depressed state, like where I couldn't talk very well. I lost words. And even to this day, if I, when I have setbacks sometime, like I can see the words. It's almost like there's a computer screen inside my forehead and I can see the words in there, but I can't pronounce them. And then on some days my speech is slurred. So I know exactly what he went through and what he was going through. And I just feel really bad for him. I really do. Yeah.
Jen.
Yeah, I mean, well, the suicidal thoughts I think are a key indicator that you need help. You know, that the diagnosis, whatever diagnosis you have, whatever you're doing, and especially the importance of it being misdiagnosed, where there's a brain injury that is misdiagnosed as bipolar or mental illness or PTSD, and they're sticking you on pharmaceuticals. And the way they report on pharmaceuticals is, to me, it's disingenuous, because it'll say a side effect is suicide. Well, then why, if I'm depressed, am I taking a drug with a side effect of suicide? And so then is it that the drug can lead to suicide, or is it that you have suicidal people on a drug and the drug isn't working, so then they're going to take their lives anyway? And there is no differentiation of that, or a way to differentiate it. But I think it's key for people who are feeling suicidal, for people who have been diagnosed as bipolar or any of the other mental health conditions, including PTSD, to say, if my meds are not working, something else is probably wrong. And then there's help outside. What is that help? And I know, Scott, you said we're going to get more into that in another episode next week. And I'm, tune back in, you guys, because this is an important story. And one of the things I want to differentiate between a TBI and CTE is a TBI is what I had, right? So I hit my head really hard. I had a single incident, got the vertigo, thought I was having adult onset ADHD. Likely I have a brain injury. CTE is repetitive brain injuries that creates then a continuous degenerating disease of your brain. So it continues to degenerate year after year after year after year. I don't know if a TBI is like that or not. We're going to have to study it and find out and see, like, when does it go from a TBI to CTE? I don't know.
Great point, Jen. And the one thing I can tell you, on our network, we have a lot of different shows. Okay, we've got football, we got baseball, we got sports exchange, we talk about hockey. Tomorrow I'm going to do an interesting show for entertainment tonight. I have a couple people that'll be on at 8:00 p.m. Eastern time. Hope you don't miss that one, where we'll talk about it. It'll be another episode of No Limits with a different topic line, and No Limits are for the non-sports related stuff. This one here is a natural. It really is. I know there's so much content. That's why I'm so excited about bringing you guys on as partners. But that's the whole thing. Our network is designed to show you that we are more than a one-trick pony, and that's what it's all about. And yes, Jen, we will have more content than we know what to do with, but that's why we're looking to build this audience, because it is so important. You never know, everybody, if you have a family member or friend that's dealing with us, and the more you tune in, the more whether you contribute in the chat room or whether we see your comments on YouTube or wherever you're tuning in from, that's good, because we need to see that stuff. This is I've done a lot of shows in my 37 years in this business, but I am intrigued and excited about the challenge, especially working with Jen and Will, because I'm dealing with it myself. And even if I was not dealing with it, I still have passion for athletes that have worked around them my entire life and had injuries and so forth. So this is something that I am so glad we're doing. And I couldn't have two better teammates to do it with me. We're going to bring Candy Embley back on right now. And Candy, what I want to do is, why don't you give you your overall perspective about what you've heard so far? And every single week, you're going to come on at the end, give us your overall summary about what you took out of the show. And then we're going to preview the sports exchange in a few minutes. All right?
Yeah, I think part of what I heard was that we're still doing research, and CTE can be helped by these hyperbaric chambers, and so I'm intrigued to learn more. And you kind of got me on the hook now. So now I want to watch next week to listen more and hear more. And like I said, I never thought before. The first time I heard CTE was football players, because I would have never thought about the G-force and bobsledders, and I obviously I've watched the Olympics numerous times, and I hope at some point you even go into the movie about Cool Runnings, because that was about bobsledding, and I love that movie. So
Well, that could be a topic in its own right, Candy.
exactly.
That's what I'm saying. This thing is so wide open, it's ridiculous. So, and I'm only going 3 or 4 topics tonight. Tonight we got his story. Can you imagine all the millions of other stories we have out there? That's what the Monday calls are for.
Yeah, I got to say this, but when my mom passed in 2018, the original Jamaican bobsled team, those were the first guys to call me to check on me. You know, how about that?
Nice.
Yeah, I love those guys. Yeah, I think 2 of them have passed recently, but they were the first ones to call me to check on me.
I remember all that. I remember like the whole Jamaican bobsled team.
Yeah,
I mean, just the whole like in the sport.
Well, Jennifer, why don't you write that down as a potential topic too, and send me an email on that. And I got news for you. Jennifer may be working with Will on his, but she's also my technical clerical individual when it comes to coming up with all this good stuff. So that's all right. I know she's very efficient, and we'll get the stuff with me. And she's all choked up about my one-liners that she didn't want to go out there and get choked up on the air because she knows we have a lot more work to do, but that's okay. And so, but yeah, I keep her busy just like you will. No big deal. Just like
I appreciate you guys, man. Well, this topic is so huge and so dear to my heart at this point. I'm just tired of watching people pass for no reason. Well, you can beat this thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's so many different layers to it. So look at Jennifer. She's all blushing because of my one-liner. She don't want to show her face anymore. Come out wherever you are, Jen. I'm just teasing you. I can't help it. With that said, we'll go back to another station break, and then Jennifer and will be able to go ahead and let everybody know how they can reach them as well. So also coming up at the top of the hour, the Sports Exchange will be on with Tom Shanahan, George Icord, Candy, myself, and who else? Got Jacob Christner as well. So they'll be on. So we have a good show lined up as well. All right, Candy, go ahead.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth, talks about his 40-plus years in the industry and how it has evolved and changed. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. There is a plethora of great content, so go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. If you see the red subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner, that means you haven't subscribed to us yet. What are you waiting for? Come on, just do it. Hit it like a sheriff. And then turn on your notifications so you're notified anytime we go live. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, call Scott 954-304-4941. If you want to be a guest or have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Back to you, Scott.
And if I'm living proof of that, just ask Eddie Prather. We took him out of the chat room, put him on with us. I knew Jen would be back. I'll tell you, she's done a great job tonight. I'm proud of her. There's old Jen. We got to have that spark plug on here. But yeah, our 5th topic of the night will be Candy's takeaway. So she goes ahead and watches and takes shows and tries to break it down simple what we talked about. Any closing thoughts, Jennifer, before we wrap it up and head to the Sports Exchange?
I have none. I'm choking over here, so you go right ahead.
All right. Well, any closing thoughts? We'll do it again next week we'll probably move the show up to 7:30, 7:45 Eastern time. Works good. It gives us a little bit of breathing room for the Sports Exchange. It worked out really well tonight. Yeah. And this show's only going to get better as time goes on. We're just whetting your appetite tonight. So if you're hungry for some good information about a topic and subject that's really important, please tune us in at around 7:30, 7:45 Eastern time on Wednesday night. Any closing thoughts, Will, about our first act out here?
Yeah, actually, I have a TikTok channel that I dedicate only to helping people learn to live with this. And it's really mainly for the loved ones because, as you know, most athletes, we couldn't see it in ourselves. I didn't. When I finish telling you the story later, you'll be like, oh, wow. Like, I denied everything, even when it was right in my face. So it's the loved ones who can help you. If you have a loved one who's acting out of nature, out of character, look me up. I'll help you maneuver this thing. There's very simple things to kind of help you, and it'll like I stepped in all the potholes. You don't need to step in them too, so I can help you avoid those potholes.
Yeah, those stories end up in Jennifer's hands, and then she emails them me. That's how this is.
At one man with a chamber, right?
Yeah, one man with a chamber, especially with self-medicating guys. You gotta help. Click in. I'll help you out. I'll help you figure it out.
All
It's
right,
not so
Jenny,
hard.
anything you want to add real quick? Contact information on websites or anything that you want to put out there real quick?
I mean, the website, did you say Candy or Jennifer? I forgot.
No,
Sorry.
you.
Me. Me. Yeah, I mean, well, William's got a GoFundMe. So right now, one of his big things is he's trying to raise funds to be able to purchase a medical grade hyperbaric oxygen chamber to help people, help more athletes, help more military, help more civilians at no cost. He wants to be able to treat people for free, but he needs the public's help in raising the funds to be able to buy the chamber. So he's on GoFundMe. If you can go find at One Man with a Chamber, Will Person on GoFundMe, that's his main website. And then follow him on social media and ask all the questions. Get involved. Find out if this is you or your loved one or whatever, and then see where the help is, because help does exist. And I think it's really important for people to know.
And you'll be mentioning that every week when we come on anyway. So it's the first opportunity of many. With that said, that does it for this edition of No Limits. On behalf of Candy, Evelyn, Will Person, and Jennifer Horsepool, my name is Scott Morgan, Rough Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on No Limits. Sports Exchange is next, and we will be back next Wednesday night with a new episode of No Limits. Same group. Take care, everybody. Have a great week. Bye now.
Thank you.